to trigger moreness into any discussion, and that is so profound.
It's a big
And
deal. It's a big deal.
Yes, it is a big deal, and I really appreciate that. And I
Yes.
always get value out of it. So thank you so much, Norma, for that.
Oh,
And
me too.
today
Me too.
is Sunday, and we are going to do the reading of the
Yes,
story.
part two, part two, part
Yes,
two,
yes.
part two of this chapter. Yeah, it's a longer
Yes.
chapter, so we get to do part two. Oh, dang it. Sorry. Yeah, part two. I just wanted to mention part two. Yeah, talking about
Yes.
Norma. I'm sending Norma the link. That helps us sometimes to get there. She likes that. Very good.
Yes.
I think Norma may be out today, so we might not see Norma, but either way.
Okay, anyway, I want to share before we start. I just want
I
to
love
share
it.
something.
I love it. She watches the replay, so
Yes.
it's all good. It's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before we go to the story, and then you, of course, start with the story, I just want to share something which we are going to discuss in detail later on in the week. Throughout the week, of course, whenever we get a chance to. But practicing the conceptions, the power conceptions I have acquired from Way-of-Impeccability and the Moreness project. Practicing those in my day-to-day mundane life, daily life, it's not only valuable, but it is so much fun.
Yes.
It is so much fun because
Yes.
without manipulating, without deliberately trying to manipulate any situation or anyone, when you see that what you are intending and you see the materialization of that intent in play instantly, this is so fun. This is so fun. Yes, I'm just saying that, okay, deliberately not trying to manipulate anyone or any situation, because my intent was not to manipulate, but my intent was to have value and, of course, make things acceptable, pleasant, and valuable for everyone. Like for both the parties involved in those interaction, communication, whatever. So this is something really amazing for me. That yes, that could be like, okay, yes, I got value, I learned something. That could be boring, but when you get fun out of it, when you see that how people transform immediately, that is something so fun, so much fun. Sometimes I always say that even with the narcissists and even with the victim mindset, people say that it's not a mistake, it's not their fault, because it's a very sensitive subject. But sometimes we cue other people, and it's not limited to victim in like in any torture kind of thing, situation or relationship. It is like racism.
Yes.
It is, yes, negative from the people who are actually doing that, but it is also the cueing from the people who are being victim of that.
Yes.
Even when they are not in that situation, because we always act, mostly, not always, but mostly we act according to the memories of our experiences, not experience itself, memories of those experiences. So when I have some memories that someone in the past was look like this person, and he or she did or they did something not so positive to me, those memories are going to dictate my behavior, my body
Or
language.
not will, but can. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Excuse my grammar and
Good. That's all right.
yeah,
They could.
I don't
They
want to
could.
sound definitive or absolute in any way, but I'm just saying that, okay, it's a possibility, and I have seen this, that sometimes me myself, because of the memory of my experiences, I act in a particular way. And later on, when you pay attention, you realize that it was not like this. Every situation is new because you are new, because the person is new, because the perspective can be new, because the situation is new. We need to understand and continuously remind ourselves that every single moment is a new entire universe, new universe, within and of course outside.
Yeah.
And that is something I have experienced, and I saw that. So again, it comes to for me that the whole thing boils down to, as Syl always say, that the goodness was there, that innate goodness. What
Yeah.
I did actually, it was just I just deliberately connect to that goodness part of them, that goodness aspect of them, which was there.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm calling it that it was not a manipulation by any means, and it was at least not deliberately. But I was deliberately connecting to that innate goodness, and it comes out very nice, very
Yeah. Yeah.
pleasant, very
Yeah.
valuable. We are going
And
to, I'm going to discuss all those things and share details, the next
yes, give
stories I have.
details of it. Ah, wonderful, wonderful. It will
Yes,
come in the
yes,
week. Yeah, yeah, as appropriate, as
yes,
appropriate.
yes,
Yeah, yeah. Beena, in this deeper point, I just want to ask one question quickly.
yes,
That part of the feeling good, does it come from knowing that you can make a real, substantial, wonderful, positive, potent difference, capital D difference in your daily life?
yes, yes, absolutely,
This
absolutely.
is one of the most enjoyable things when
Yes,
we get to realize we can make a difference, and you're making a difference through how you are.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
It doesn't come from particular skills or qualifications or learning or anything like that, right? You know, like you go and get a degree and you make it. No, this is you make a difference because of who you are through your being. Yes?
Yes,
That,
yes,
that is an incredible, incredible, incredible thing. Yes?
exactly, exactly. Thank you so much for
Yes.
making it more obvious for me.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
it's a big deal. I mean, you shared it with me before, but you know, you
yes,
sharing it now, it really connected me to that. Hey, wait a second. And you know, Beena, this is actually a quote at the start of the superiority paradigm book or course. Yeah,
mm,
I want to find that. I want to find that. I'm going to find the quote for you in a second. Yeah, yeah. I'm searching in my quote file for make a difference. It's a quote by Biella.
mm.
Uh, where is that quote now? Gonna find it in a second. Yeah. Uh, uh, I guess not. Uh, oh. I think it's just.
Okay.
Hang on. I'm
Mm,
not remembering the details of the quote. And she says it in a different way.
mm.
But this point, you know, it gives us that piece of being to realize that this is we can apply ourselves, right? Because in this case, it wasn't just that it was a passive effect that you had, you know, like a tree makes a difference, but it's kind of passive, right? Um,
Yes,
but how you are enabled you to act and do and behave in ways, right, and relative to others that that enabled us, that enabled you to substantially affect a circumstance and the situation and the interaction, right?
mm.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And this is very powerful. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
We
When
found it?
we yes, the quote. Yes, the quote. I'll put it into chat then. When let me put it into chat first, and you can read it along with me. Ah, Okay. When we realize we can add to the world, change the world, contribute positively to the world, simply via being aware, we undergo a profound moment of personal empowerment. Biella Noble.
Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
exactly what happened for you, yes?
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, your way of being that I was saying about being, because in this case, it was awareness that made the difference, right? You had a deeper awareness
Yes.
of not only
Yes.
the dynamics underlying the interaction, but also of the various options at your disposal of how to behave. Yes. Very powerful.
Yes.
Very, very magically, wonderfully, brilliantly powerful. Yeah. I love that quote. When we realize we can add to the world, change the world, contribute positively to the world, simply via being aware, capital A, aware, we undergo a profound moment of personal empowerment. We realize that just our awareness alone is enough to empower us. Yes, you don't need to have
Yes.
superpowers, skills, all of the stuff that we think we might have. The awareness is the skill, and it leads to the application of various behaviors and all sorts of stuff, right? It enables you to do, which you might not have thought before you had this. You didn't have to pre-learn the specific thing. The awareness was enough to give you in the moment ability and competence. Yes. And this is an incredible thing, is it not, Beena? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It is profound.
It's very,
And
very
again,
potent.
again, we are coming back to the same point. That
I'm listening. Go ahead. Say again. You broke up. What happened? You muted, Beena. You muted yourself.
yes, it was breaking. Something will start playing in the background. That's why I muted myself.
Oh, I
But
see. Yeah.
this is again coming back to the same thing. When we share, when we appreciate, when we acknowledge, it's not about the other person to boost their ego or to just pamper their vanity and all that. No, it's all about me. It's a very it's okay
Oh,
because spirituality is a selfish business and the love is a very selfish business. And exactly like
yeah.
this, when I'm doing this, first I'm responsible for my things, my life, my being, my way of being. So whatever I'm doing, if it makes sense to me first, if I see that according to my awareness and my understanding, it is impeccable, at least I'm trying to be impeccable. When my
Oh,
conscience is clear, when I'm getting value out of it, it's not about me. Center of this whole life is me for myself. And when
yes.
I'm getting value, this is where things shift completely for me. Not only that I feel responsible, but also I get tremendous value in every act, whatever I do in my life. I get value. And this is when you in the beginning, when you start saying, okay, I'm covered in any ways, like, okay, yes, if it does, if not, if I'm happy. And I'm like, how this person can be happy in any situation? Like, seriously,
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
is, how this could be. If a person is
Yeah.
not behaving accordingly or not appropriately, how still he can be happy or okay, or just satisfied or just okay,
Oh,
at
oh,
peace. What, how this can be even possible? But
yes.
as again, with compatibility or any transformation needs a bit of trust in the beginning, even if it doesn't make sense to you. Just assume that it makes sense. Some sort of assumption, impeccable assumptions involved there. Trust first, like when we start walking, when we are babies, infants, when we start walking, we have to trust. There is no other way. Of course, we are going to fail. Of course, it is going to hurt. This is going to be painful sometimes. It will be awkward and all that. But we have to trust, and this is what we do. Otherwise, we will not be able to do anything. And same in any transformation, any progress, any growth. In the beginning, you have to just stick with it. trust a bit more than what you are actually doing.
Yes, this very important point. At first, you need to trust a bit more than you may think is warranted. Now, this is capital P practice. That trust that initially it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, but you just do. And you are trusting that things are going to change because of the application and the implementation.
Exactly.
Right? You're trusting that you're going to update dynamically in the moment. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. The Beena Sidd, 1 second. Let me just take care of Norma here real quick. She says she's there, but no comment facility. Let me give you another link, Norma. Hold on. There must be one. There must be one, Norma. Let me give you this link here. And then you can comment. I love your comments, Norma. All right, so try this link, Norma. And I just sent you in Messenger there. And then the comments will be on the right-hand side. You'll see my comments there as well, the quote, and then the good morning, everyone. All right. Beena, I want to get right into the story. I'll screen share.
Yes.
Wonderful. I just love this, and I'm looking forward to going into this in detail throughout the week, because this theme, this point that we're talking about, this point of self-empowerment through application, through awareness, through understanding the nuance, that bit of trust that we have to give when applying capital P practice, because that's what you were doing. You were capital P practicing, even though it was just a daily, regular thing, mundane is sort of a deal. That's not daily, but something that happens in life. And even though it's still capital P practice, because you weren't just dealing with it in an ordinary way, you ended up dealing with it in a super ordinary way. But again, there's that few seconds, moments where you have that bit of uncertainty, and then you overcome that, and then you get to be where you want to be. Incredibly powerful. And this point of this being aware and changing the world and making a difference and empowering yourself and having ability, having competence, etc. It's a theme throughout the entire story, right? It's a very, very powerful theme. Another theme, of course, is change. And we are dealing, this particular chapter is one of profound, big deal change for both Ursula and Camillus. Yes, and the opening video, the title video in the background here, right? See, this is change. Yes. It's symbolizing this change in different levels. You see, I mean, in the now that's very interesting. Yes, that the clouds here are. If you're looking at this, if you were actually standing there, the weather's moving away from you. The dark cloud, right? Which is interesting in that it's sort of the reverse of what's we're getting a bit of trouble moving for Camillus, but actually his worldview collapse is really clearing up things. Yes, he needs it in order to clear up. So it's very interesting that it's in the reverse here. All right, brilliant. All right, brilliant. Let's get to be reading. Set that there. We get all perfectly set up. Being Noble, Chapter 7, Part 2. Without application, the more means nothing. Credo of the new nobility. Without application, the more means nothing. All right, well, 1 second. Let me just stop share and just check that Norma's here. Oh, Norma, just try the comments there. You should be able to. I don't see why you can't comment from that link that I gave you. If not, go to group and go to the featured, and it'll be at the top of featured, and go there. And then from there, definitely you should be able to do comments. And I'm kind of can't figure out why you can't comment. That's very odd, because we do like to see your comments, Norma. They're very important. They're very, very important. So yeah, please try. Go maybe to group and to featured. Then if the link I sent you doesn't work. I mean, it's the link that I'm seeing that's up on the screen here. So I don't know why that wouldn't work. It's a bit odd. All right. Without application, the more means nothing. Yeah. It's no good having, it's like having money that you can't spend. Yes. What's the point of it? If you can't spend your money, what's the point? It means nothing, right? Unspendable money. Oh, I'll give you $1 billion. Yay, thank you. Oh, but there's a catch. You can't spend it. Yeah. It's very important. People don't, this obviously, when it comes to money, it's like, well, duh, it's pointless. But with knowledge, they don't regard it in the same way. When we understand money and knowledge to be equivalent in this aspect, now it makes all the difference. Yes, Beena? Yeah? Make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a very wonderful analogy. It's interesting. I've never used it before so specifically in this context of application, spending it. Yes, we can't spend
Yes.
our knowledge and have the ability to spend your knowledge. This is a difference with money. It's fairly easy to spend money. It doesn't take much ability to spend money, but it takes lots of ability to spend our knowledge. Yes, it's a skill. Application is its own skill. Yeah, spending isn't
Yeah.
much of a skill. You just pay for stuff. That's it. But application, like you discovered, just the
Yeah.
story you were telling. The application is its skill. And so there we go. I'm here now. Went through group, not link. Wonderful. All right, Norma. Fantastic. Yes, fantastic.
Yes.
And Norma, when we're done, what's the start of this? Beena made a beautiful, beautiful share, and that is concerning you. So just listen to it. It's very, very was just wonderful, and I fully support and share Beena's sentiments. So just listen to it when you get a chance. Wonderful. All right, let's start reading. Let's start reading. Biella and Ursula arrived at the vista point, high up, providing a great view of the narrower river rising up and away to one side, the larger, broader river spreading out and below on the other side. A gangway with a swing bench at the end of it stretched out over the water. Biella took them all the way to the swing bench. Strap in, she said to Ursula, as she sat down and buckled herself. Ursula followed her example, while Biella started cranking on a winch, opening a gap in the gangway, and lowered them through it. When they stopped, they were swinging slightly high and free above the water, but still cozy beneath the gangway. A wonderful way to experience the river, peaceful and joyful. Wonderful, Ursula sighed. They sat in silence, sitting close for warmth, their perch a bit cooler, as spray drifted down from higher up the river on the light breeze. Ursula found herself surprised by herself again, beginning to like the experience. Such a joy to surprise oneself. Never before something she'd experienced. Not like this. What had surprised her was she not only didn't mind the ease and uninhibited physical contact which Biella and her friends had initiated, but she was perfectly comfortable with easy intimacy, enjoying it immensely. She'd surprised herself being comfortable with it almost immediately. Great joy thinking about that. Pure, no implications, no agenda physical contact. Contact purely from the joy of sharing had not been a part of her previous life and world. Nothing to it, Ursula realized, but simple appropriateness, combined with the innate positivity and love for all that pervaded the new nobility. Biella pulled her legs up onto the bench, tucking them in and to the side, leaning closer into Ursula because of it, resting her head on Ursula's shoulder. She needs to recharge, Ursula realized. Me too. Ursula noted, easing her head against Biella's. Biella had closed eyes, already fallen into her light doze. I thought I had so much, was Ursula's last thought as she too dozed off, infused by the candor of Biella's uninhibited opportunism. it moves me, the story. It touches me. It touches me. Camillus, however, was having a rough time of it, visibly straining, internal pressure building in him. He struggled to reconcile himself. No other way to put it. His view of himself did not match his new view of the world. Biella had watched the stress build for some time now. She'd left Ursula on the Riverview swing perch, now approaching Camillus. Biella felt there wasn't much she could do, not up to her, but she would be on hand to do whatever the situation warranted. Helping others, a very, very tricky problem for the new nobility. Help, when not directly asked for, usually an expression of personal perspective, typically ending up being an imposition of the helper's standards and view of the world. Helping, interpersonal help, not physical help as in helping an injured person, an ethically ambiguous exercise. Biella saw what was happening with Camillus and understood it, but had no way to proceed as yet. What she felt she could do, she'd done already. She'd watch and wait, be on hand, and pay attention to the world around her for any indication from her greater self or the universe, as most like to think of it. Her heart went out to him. She did not like to see anyone struggling, but knew remaining neutral was essential. To help someone resolve a problem they wrestled with can be a grave injustice. All too easy to rob them of the joy and accomplishment of solving it for themselves. Once that happened, there was no going back. If they asked, however, a completely different issue. But even then, the new nobility knew direct help usually led to more problems than it solved. Their perspective generally was, if the opportunity presented and it was appropriate to do so, a new noble would share their perspectives on the issue. The more, the better. But such perspective sharing had its own problems. In the case of Camillus, it was especially going to be problematic. Sharing of perspectives and ideas had led to his current crisis. Biella would simply be with him and see where it went. She discussed the problem with Ursula before coming back down. About Camillus, Biella had told her, he's suffering from a worldview collapse. I was wondering about him. He's been very up and down, Ursula agreed. He's not happy at being challenged, yes? Ursula acted on Biella's recommendation to express her thoughts. Yes. What do you see as the difference between your circumstance and his? Biella asked. Ursula considered. Let me check. First, if I understand his world's dominant culture, which I believe he does represent, we have educational institutions, and from what I understand, the structure and setup of these are fairly common, much like bureaucracies across the agglomeration. I find that amazing. Except on his world, it's worldwide, yes? And not a large population either, yes, Biella confirmed. I will extrapolate from the university I attended. Ego is a dominant motivation, status the dominant goal. In a culture, there's a whole, but in the university system, it's different. Superiority is not overt. The purported goal there is knowledge, but it matters whose knowledge. There's an unspoken premium on being the one who is the originator of knowledge. Or, failing that, a premium on being expert or knowledgeable. There's immense status and prestige to knowing things, especially in the fields such as philosophy, theology, and psychology. By extension, that knowledge translates into knowing how to live, so it's valued more. The subtle prestige is higher. Ursula checked with a glance at Biella to make sure she was on track. Biella nodded. Ursula frowned slightly, continued. The biggest problem I noticed is the discrepancy between theory and practice. It astounded me. I studied business and psychology with minors in other fields. I wanted to be well-rounded for business. I figured the better I understood people, the better I'd be at business. But I was sorely disappointed. The knowledge was mostly theoretical. I don't mean the studies. I mean in the teachers. They didn't apply what they taught themselves. A big surprise to me. Once I noticed it, I made a point to investigate the matter further. To keep it short, I discovered they believed knowing the information was enough. They truly believed this idea, but their lives were at enormous odds with what they taught. Extensive justifications and distortions existed to reconcile this discrepancy. The most common I encountered was a variation of, I'm only human, or we all do it. Ursula considered her points for a moment. The logical disconnect surprised me the most, as if they'd convinced themselves because something was commonly practiced that made it a reasonable action. An illogic incredible to me. It's pervasive in common culture, but to see it in that environment surprised me. I thought they would have known better. The problem lies in the way the learning institutions work, the way they're set up. Everything's geared to memorization, not actual application. I'm talking about the qualities and teachings which relate to how we are as a person. It's one thing to teach the value of patience, for instance, another to actually have it and apply it. There seem to be no courses for that. It's one of the key reasons why the School of Nobility is set up to focus on application, Biella confirmed. I'm enjoying your perspective on this. Normally, I'd like to hear you go into more detail, but I'm keen to get back to Camelius. To put it simply, he's in an ego crisis. To put it simply, he's in an ego crisis. In his world, he's the definer. He considers his knowledge to be valuable and worthwhile, but here it's exposed for being only information, not real knowledge, because it's mostly theoretical, not actually applied, at least not nearly applied to the extent it is here. To make it even worse, the knowing and application here goes beyond what is believed to be the pinnacle of human thought and understanding. The conundrum for him is the way this incredible extra is presented. No scholarly articles with numerous references and studies and citations and so on. The only way he knows to gauge credibility. But it's a house of cards, that credibility system. I saw this when I went into business. Many of the theories fell apart in practice. They sounded good, but often based on flawed premises or lack of practicality in reality. He's been shocked many times by ideas and perceptions he never imagined. It's devastating to someone like him. Camelius's world has become invalid. His worldview is collapsing. Or, to be accurate, it's already collapsed. He's trying desperately to shore it up. His problem is how to readjust his perception of himself in relative terms within the hierarchy he's established. That hierarchy is everything in the system he's from. He no doubt considered himself, by rights, somewhere near the top. It's why he's so troubled by my words when we have the right of it. He thought he did, but didn't want to acknowledge it. Acknowledge he didn't really, even though he said so. It wasn't a real full acknowledgement inside. To sum it up, he's come to feel foolish because of the radical improvements he's come into contact with. Nobelia is literally a different world, as you are. What is known doesn't work here. He's essentially been invalidated, but he's still too attached to his status and ego to fully acknowledge this awful truth and make the shift. Ursula looked troubled, not pleased to be so harsh, realizing, however, accuracy is the focus. She knew Biella would be able to perceive no negative intent involved. Biella asked, "What allowed you to make the change?" Ursula, a bit taken aback, considered. She had not thought about her own change from this perspective. My status is still intact on my world. I still have all my wealth and achievements, my championships and political accomplishments. None of that has changed. I simply saw something much, much better. What I saw aligns with my inner nature. I only pursued all that because I now realize I was looking for what I really wanted. Ego and status to me were always tools. They were good tools. Initially, they motivated me to do something. Later, I used them to understand others, which added to my success. I was invested in the accomplishment of the goal itself, not the status or the ego, because I saw it as a tool. I come to understand how flimsy and shallow it is. But there's more as it relates to Camellias. Let me think a moment. Ursula closed her eyes, exploring inside, connecting to all within, reviewing and sorting, pre-editing what she was going to say. For me, I'm not saying what I had was wrong on a personal level. I know my beliefs and philosophies are nowhere near the level of sophistication they are here. But even on my world, I understood they may be better. What I had, what I used, worked extremely well for me. And I came here and I saw there was more, so much more. That thrilled and excited me like nothing else has before. On my old world, personal philosophies were a speculative subject. No one knew for sure if they worked as advertised because nobody really got to that point of application. But for Camellias, on his world, they do believe they know. They believe what they know is valid and worthwhile, despite the lack of thorough application. And their status is tied to that validity. For Camellias, he's seeing not only is most of what he knows invalid, but for the most part, he's also becoming and more aware how little of it he actually applied. If he acknowledges the perspectives, knowledge, and system of the new nobility, it will be the same as saying he's been, in essence, a bit of a fool. He said this in a semi-joking ways about himself, revealing his semi-awareness of this truth, as people tend to do. When they don't want to face things inside, it comes out, like they're trying to alert themselves. The difference between the new nobility and himself, his world, is very large in overall ideology, and most importantly, in its application. That's the part he has the most trouble with, the application. He's struggling to believe it's real, can be real, despite the evidence he continually sees. I would extrapolate, she smiled at extrapolate, that he'll turn aggressive and attack something or someone soon, with his words and intellect, pull down in order to regain his relative stature. Also, he'll likely try to find some way to shift responsibility away from himself. The idea of ourselves, when confronted with reality, is not always pretty. I've seen this many times in business, where people have made money because factors happened to be in their favor. But when the winds of fortune shifted, they were devastated to discover their lack of sophisticated competence. There's lack of sophisticated competence. It happens with specialists also. When they're in a situation where they have to apply their expertise in a broader context, it doesn't always translate. Even if they succeed in adapting, they come to realize, while they may be an expert in their particular field, it doesn't mean all that much in the larger scheme of things. can be overwhelming for them. I suspect it's so with Camellias. Ursula pursed her lips and grimaced slightly. To me, the evaluation to change my situation and myself was done in business terms. I went for maximum value. It's simple, really. Then I adapted as necessary to have the best chance to get that value. When it comes right down to the core, there's not much involved. To say it out loud like this makes it seem so mercenary. Biella grinned back at her fiercely. Ursula blinked in surprise. There's no other way, Ursula. If we are honest right down to our essential details, it's always so when it comes to our actions. Value is at the root of it. The rest is merely labeling. Labeling maintained by those who wish to avoid honesty. You being impeccable is your assessment. That impeccability demands throwing out any petty ego and emotional considerations. You are making a decision in full sobriety. Impeccability and sobriety, along with integrity, are highly valued by the new nobility, as you can see, for obvious reasons. What do you think is the remedy for Camellias, his solution, his resolution? I don't know, Ursula said earnestly. Not because I haven't thought about it, but because of all the particulars. It seems there isn't a solution at present. He would have to give up himself to resolve it all. Well said, Ursula. So very, very well said. A most sophisticated insight, that last. Biella was delighted. She'd winched up the swing to the platform while Ursula finished her thoughts. She kissed Ursula on the cheek. Will you please stay here for a while? Our chat about renewable energy will have to wait. I promise we'll get back to it later and more. I want to see how Camellias is and spend a bit of time with him. I don't think he's good for more than one person at the moment. I'll come and fetch you or wait for you to come when ready. Is that okay? Biella asked earnestly, requesting a favor. Ursula felt a tear forming in her eye at this. She still had to get used to the fact of nothing being taken for granted. Biella deliberately did not use the implied authority of their positions. Ursula was beginning to understand it could not be so. Over time, those liberties became habituated, and the system started to change. One had to be constantly vigilant against such creeping, inadvertent changes. She knew this from business, but to see it applied on a personal level like this, astonishing. Such sustained attention required a level of awareness hard to maintain, a demanding deliberation, a consciousness of. Ursula started to get pulled in by the implication. She'd much yet to work through and figure out, tidy up and see how to apply within herself. Yes, no problem, Biella. I'd be happy to. Biella had already started moving. She didn't want to be rude, but time was precious. One could be patient and in a hurry, all at the same time. End chapter 7, part 2. Oh, wow. I thought there was more coming. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yes, Norma. First, awareness of status. Yes, this is very important to be aware of. Grin, I must take the impeccability course. Yes, Norma. That would be a joy and a delight. Anytime you wish, it's completely open to you. And Dave, you'll just have to wait for a second. I'm busy doing a live. Let me just let Dave know. Beena, any thoughts and comments?
Just saying not yet, but
Any thoughts and comments, Dan?
no, I'm just listening. Today I just wanted to
Well, I'm done with the story for today. That's it. In
Okay,
chapter 7, part 2. Yeah, it
wow.
went quicker. Yeah. I thought it was longer. I did the good.
Yes, usually it's longer.
Well, the next continuation is the next chapter as Biella goes and meets with Camillus down there, and they have a big, long discussion, and it's very powerful. It's very powerful. Now, I do want to mention something. Anyway, any comments? Any comments before I say?
No, no, not right now, not right now.
Oh, wow. That's unusual. That's unusual. Um, uh, 1 second. Let me just give Dave a price on this item here real quick. Just then Dave doesn't wait. I don't remember how much this is. Oh, okay. Dave, you're gonna have to wait. Uh, uh,
Okay.
almost there. I wanted to say something from a writing point of view. And this is that Ursula's predictive comments, right, were made before Camillus responded. Right now, you could say, yeah, but you know which way the story is going to go. So, of course, any predictions a character makes, you know, you can basically have them always be correct in their predictions. Yeah, but in this story, keep in mind that what Camillus says, what's in quotes from Camillus, is actually said by a real person. Now, the real person's name isn't, of course, Camillus, and their situation is slightly different, Camillus, but there's some similarities. Yeah, and this was because as I was writing the story, I would share it with Camillus, and he would respond. Yeah. Now, and then I would enfold that into the story, which is quite a job. Now, in this case, this came, I wrote this, but didn't share this with Camillus yet. Yeah, I wrote this in. And so now, in other words, Camillus's continuation, he's not aware of this interlude with in my real-time sharing with my friend, yes, who is sharing from Camillus. So he's not aware of Ursula's comments, but I wrote them before I, continued to interact with him, where he was continuing to share about the story, right? So he's now okay, as far as okay, he's seeing the part. I don't remember what I shared with him, but maybe he's okay. Camillus and Ursula are going to go and look at the river, and she's going to explain things about the alternative energy because it's underneath the water in the river. And anyway, and he's just there, right? So we may have a bit before that, but anyway, he doesn't know about this part, right? And I was essentially via Ursula, because Ursula is a complete character created with me as the author here. I am genuinely speculating as to where I see Camillus, or at least my friend, going to react, because my friend in real life was having the same issue as Camillus, right? There's a very real issue here for my friend. So all the dialogue from Camillus, the emotions, everything is very, very real. And Biella, in this case now, my interaction with my friend, I'm in the same conundrum as Biella, right? What to do, how to do. I can really just be there for my friend and hear him out. Yes, I'm going to respond as appropriate. We'll see, as much as I could, as Biella did, right? Try and make every effort. So this is, I like this part of the story, and I really want to mention this, that, it's in stories, we read stories now, and for the most part, at least in a fictional story, when there's drama, you always have in the back of your mind, it's drama created by the author. Yeah, which means that how real is this really? Now, of course, good authors will make you feel like it's real. Yes, but feeling like it's real and it actually being real are two different things. Yeah.
Yes.
However, in this case, Camelius's struggle and Camelius's comments, Camelius's actions are very, very real. Yes. He is reacting to Biella. In this case, now he's reacting to me, obviously, as well. Yes. But it's given him a
Yes.
mechanism for reacting to me. It gives him that one step removal, because he would have had an even harder time in reacting to me directly. Yes. So his comments on Ursula and Biella are comments on me, which was putting the pressure on him, right? He was just the same effect was happening. It's very, very real. And I love this. I love the realness of this. And especially like Norma, you mentioned this, right? You said, like, you said to me once that, my writing was nonfiction, but this is fiction, and you like the nonfiction more. But yes, it is fictional, but it's also very, very real. So much of the story, Norma, especially this part, it's nonfiction, really. It's nonfiction. It's real stuff that's just been packaged in a nonfiction way to make it more presentable, right? It's
Yes.
just a nicer way of getting to it, right? Because if, for instance, if this was, like, let's say I had a recording of this, it would be like watching reality TV. Yes. And when you see people struggle in that reality TV, and it's not fun to watch, at least not for me. Yeah. So the fact that that at least for the average reader, in the back of their mind, this is fictional. Right? A reader who doesn't know what I'm saying now, it's going to feel very real to them. So, wow, this is good writing. Right. Thank you. But they won't have that awkwardness of, oh, this is actually real. Yeah. And then, because now when it's real, you feel for the person that it's real in a different way that you feel for a character. Yes. And so it takes that off. So we get this ability to enjoy the situation, learn from it without being sidetracked by being overly concerned and caring for the person involved, right? And the uncomfortableness of it. So this is very, very real, and it's super powerful stuff, because it's a theme that touches us so deeply. And yes, it happens in general life, but we don't often get to really see worldview collapse, knowing it is worldview collapse. It happens, but most who are around the person don't know what it is, because they don't have that particular awareness. Like, you interacted with somebody, or there wasn't worldview collapse, but the incident you mentioned at the start of the life was your
Yes.
awareness of the situation enabled you to behave in ways that you wouldn't otherwise have behaved, and it was really powerful. Now, this is when it's worldview collapse. If we're aware it is worldview collapse, it shifts how we relate to it, and it makes the whole process a lot easier to deal with. And it's still awkward for the person involved, because there's very little you can do, but at least you don't aggravate the situation, which is unfortunately what generally happens with worldview collapse, because people aren't aware it's worldview collapse. They just end up aggravating it. Yeah. Oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just that. Oh, all you got to do is this. All you got to do it. And totally inappropriate advice. There's no
Yes.
advice you can really give somebody other than just hang in there, go through it, let the world collapse. It's not fun. It's not pleasant, but do it, come through the other end stronger. That's it. Just hang in there, essentially. Oh, this is very powerful, and I just wanted to make this point because it's an unusualness, as far as I know. Yeah, look, other authors may do it, and they don't say they do it, or at least not in this particular way. I've never heard of an author taking actual comments and building them into the story verbatim, right? I mean, I haven't changed one word of Camelius's dialogue, or
Wow.
mine as mine. I just said it's my friend's comments. Just Camelius said, Biella said, Biella saying my comments, and not only with Camelius but with other characters later on. The same thing happens. I didn't change one word, and it was difficult sometimes. It was very difficult, actually, to build the story around the comments to make it fit, right? Like that part where Camillus
Yeah.
is hearing the people talk and that, right? I had to get very creative and inventive and crafty to make it fit into the story. But I managed,
Good.
and it was great fun. It was a great challenge, and it's part of my psychology. Um, just a quirk of my psychology. I call it extra degrees of difficulty. I like to
Mm.
add those in sometimes just for the fun of it, right? Uh, and in this
Yes.
case, I mean, I could have enfolded his conversation into the his dialogue and my own into the story and not kept it verbatim and edited a few things and thrown them out. I mean, yes, I edited typos and stuff like that now, yeah, obviously, but I didn't change it. I didn't change it, and I could have easily, just to make it a lot easier for myself. But I like the extra degree of difficulty, and it gives me a sense of joy and accomplishment that I was able to do this and do it successfully. Right? I mean, if you don't know that this is, like if you just read it without seeing this part, right? That this
Mm.
conversation is real, like hearing this from me, because I don't, if I were to publish the book, I might put it in an afterword, but I wouldn't actually. Much later, maybe, but I'd rather let it come from people coming to the website and listening to things like this, but not as a general perspective. Because when people read the book, you don't want somebody saying to the next person, "Oh, and by the way, no, let them discover it later on their own." But when you now reading this as just a regular reader, and not knowing that this is real, your perception is going to be that it's very immersive. It really grabs you. It have that genuineness and that realness to it, right? And you'll just think, wow, this author's writing great dialogue here. Maybe I don't know if they'll think it's great, but I think it's great. But it gives me an extra joy to know that the skill is a different skill. The skill was in managing that conversation in the first place. Yeah, because once we'd gone a little way and I'd started to write it in, now I'm aware that I'm writing it in. So now also I have to be careful to be real. I can't be anything else but real, but also not to steer it in different ways. Yeah, so I had to maintain my neutrality, which I did. I didn't preempt or guide or cue my friend in any way, right? And as you'll see, I was surprised but even though I predicted, I still was surprised at some of the things that come out of Camillus. Surprised in a not surprised way, I should say, right? I mean, I knew stuff was coming, but always with worldview collapse, it's unpredictable. But the unpredictable is coming. You see, so you're surprised but not surprised. Yeah. Very powerful, very powerful. I say it gives me great joy. This whole process. I mean, Camillus's worldview collapse doesn't give me joy, but as a story part, it's very powerful to realize too the contrast between him and Ursula. Now, when I wrote Ursula, I had no real. Camillus wasn't even really in the story at the point when I wrote Ursula, right? Oh, and not he wasn't at all actually, right? Camillus came as a idea, as a creation, as a character came after Ursula. I didn't when I started writing the chapter on Ursula, it was purely about Ursula and the reason for Ursula was uh, about somebody who has it together, as it were, in an ordinary sense, whether this is for real so or so from others' perception, right? It doesn't matter. Either way, I wanted a character who is perceived as being together, right? And in this case, Ursula actually is together, but it doesn't matter if she was given the appearance of being together. That would also work. But I wanted a character who had this appearance of togetherness, who makes a real change to let go of that status that she has, that position in the world, and accept being an aspirant. To go from a position of perceived, whether it's justified or not, perceived competence and authority and sensibility and sobriety and whatever, right? Or it could be somebody who's perceived as being, spiritual or wise or whatever, right? This perceived status, whether it's justified or not, that doesn't matter actually. In Ursula's case, it is, but it also isn't, because in relative to the new nobility, it doesn't make any difference, right? But I wanted to write the story of the internal psychology required to make this profound shift. Yes, because I had experienced directly those that were not able to make this. And I still see it, unfortunately. It's an ongoing theme, yes? People encounter this moreness, they want it, but they can't make that shift within themselves, like Camillus. Now, again, Camillus came after Ursula, right? When I started writing Ursula's chapter, it was purely about this concept. What does it take for us to give up ourselves and change? That was the point. Yes, because look at what Ursula said about Camillus. He has to give up on himself. Or, yeah, I forget the exact words. Where was that? She said it in a very nice way. Yeah. No, it's not give up on himself. I don't think. Yeah. Oh, is it here? Oh, where is it now? Yeah, he would have to give up himself, not on himself, but give up himself. Yes, I knew the on was inappropriate. Yeah, she said he would have to give up himself to resolve it all, and that was my theme. That was my intent. That was my focus. Right? What does it take to give up ourselves? Not give up on ourselves, but give up ourselves, to let go of what we are, what we've been. As you did, Beena. You had some challenges to do so. It wasn't easy. Yes. Yeah. But you did this. You let go of yourself. Yes. You gave up yourself, not gave up on yourself, but gave up yourself. Yes. A very fine distinction, but very important distinction. Yes, Beena?
Yes.
Because you had somewhat of a similar situation to Camillus, in a smaller context maybe, but nonetheless, you were perceived in a way by your friends and family, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And you felt you had a relative status and a relative value, and then suddenly you came into contact with the moreness, and you're like, oh, it makes me feel like a bit naive maybe now. Yeah. It was a bit tough at the beginning. It was a bit tough, and I
Yes.
admired your
Yes.
struggles, and you did persist. Right? You didn't give up on yourself. You changed. It was rough, but it changed. It was beautiful.
The biggest problem to give up on these type of things. It's not about
Yeah.
what other people uh, might be feeling or thinking, but the feeling you feel good about yourself, how
Mm,
you
mm,
feel about
mm.
yourself, giving up that idea. Oh, ah, really understand.
Yes, yes. I mean,
Really
you were a bit of
understand.
a queen bee in your context. Yes, Beena?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And who wants to give up being the queen bee? Now,
Yes.
Beena, Nina. When we say it now, it's actually kind of ridiculous, is it not?
Yes. No, yes. Now I'm
Now,
laughing.
exactly. But you see now, when we look into this a little bit more closely, right? Then it was a difficult and seemed a bit of a preposterous thing to do, to give up, right? Being the queen bee, because you valued queen bee-ness then. Yes. Now it's not a value for you at all. Yes.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
it's not being queen bee that's of value. It's knowing and understanding and being aware that is of value, right? And so now giving up queen bee is like, it's so preposterous because it's not a value. It's like, well, I wouldn't care to give it up now because I wouldn't care to even have it now, right? Your values
Yes.
have changed profoundly and significantly, yes?
Yes.
And this is the shift. This is the shift for Ursula. Ursula was aware that those weren't really her values. Camillus is not yet so aware. Yes? He values being King Bee. Yes? It's tied to him intrinsically, but it's complicated because of this. The Ursula laid it out so succinctly. Yes, I mean it's a very, very fine point. And also, by the way, a little bit of writing artistry there and skill, craftsmanship, right? Ursula makes a very, very deep, insightful assessment of Camillus. Now, Ursula's psychological assessment and evaluation of Camillus, it could be a whole book. In fact, it is a whole book. Yes, it's a whole course, the psychology of the superiority paradigm. The book has a different name for a bunch of different reasons. But and the fact that she says it in what, 2 or 3 slides, yeah. I used this construct of the brevity coming because Biella says that she wants to get back to Camillus, right? It comes earlier there. So not so. Ursula thus is aware that Biella is, that she's not in a hurry. She's not pressing Ursula. There is time and scope and space for her to share and express what she needs to express. She doesn't feel pressured, but at the same token, or at the same time, she's aware that saying this as in a compact way without skimping is appropriate in the circumstance. So the circumstance leverages Ursula, not her herself, because she's not skimping, she's not trying to be brief, and that it just happens to be so because of the attunement, the force of circumstance pressure that the situation put on them. Yeah, and I think that her summation of Ursula there, of Camillus there, is wonderful. It's wonderful in its succinctness and its depth at the same time. Yes, I think this is really came out. I was very, very pleased at that, and because I was so deeply, intimately connected to the situation, I was able to express it with such clarity. Yeah, I mean, and if you go and reread that, which we'll do in a moment here, you'll see what I mean. I really was very thrilled by how that came out, because it's not a simple thing to essentially take a psychology and again, right? This is a real thing. I am saying something. Yes, in the circumstance, I'm expressing it to myself. Yes, because I'm written here. What Ursula says before what's going to come from Camillus, right? And I know he's going to, because at that point I was interacting with Camillus on a daily basis, right? Extensively, like I mean, there are more conversations. It's almost a 1,000,000 word long, one sustained long conversation for about a year. We'd come on every day and type in chat, and it would be 8, 10 hours, 12 hours of interaction, right? So I've got tons of. I mean, I'll probably at some point put it into a book. I'll call it the Book of Mark. That's my friend's name. Yeah, just for the fun of it, from the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Anyway, I just thought it would be a fun title, the Book of Mark, because it is, it's a long conversation all about him. Anyway, and about this stuff and sharing and conversation, it's a long, deep conversation between us, right? A very profound conversation, which basically ends with the worldview collapse for him. Yeah, And then there's little bits after that, and we're still in contact, but not on that same level. The level, yes, but not at the intensity, right? This life changes, and other things come. And there's an appropriateness to the universe that brings things, yeah. And again, from our point of view, he never changed. He had the worldview collapse, but he went back to essentially being Chameleus and his world, right? He never did what Ursula did. And of course, if you're not going to make that shift from my point of view, it's very difficult to have a sustained relationship and interaction on that level of me sharing Nobelia stuff, which is my life, and living it, which is my life. If you're not going to want to make that effort to say, whoa, I see the value, but I don't want to apply it. Now you've got this conundrum, and that can't last. Yeah, I mean, there can't really be a sustained interaction with that being present. Correct? Right, Beena?
Yes. Yes.
But
And
still,
it is not something that you do. It just
correct.
happened organically.
Correct. It's just the way it is. Yes. And the intent of this also with Ursula, that there was an intent. There was an intent, much intent involved. I was in a situation of interacting with, all right, Ursula would be a very enhanced version of individuals that I interacted with. They didn't have that level of competence and success of Ursula. Although in their minds internally, they felt they could have, or they would like to believe so, or they like to give the impression that they could. But of course, this was not real, and it was more idea than reality. And in reality, when they made efforts to do that, they realized that because they had never really practiced application, they didn't succeed, and they struggled because they never acquired the skill of application. So they would start, and then the things would break down. And I see this even today on a regular basis. Without the consistent practice of application. Now, those are two abstract concepts, yes, but we need to practice applying, yes, that we have the skill of application. Without that, we can have all these beliefs and ideas in ourselves, and they mean nothing, right? And then it leads to great stress when you've got to kind of put up or shut up, and then you essentially need to, you can't put up, you can't deliver, yeah, and then it really starts to impact your self-worth. And this Chameleus at least had enough sort of kind of sense in a way to say, I'm not going to even put myself in a situation where I get tested. Yeah, yes. He just retreats in essence. And he doesn't want to be placed in that situation of even trying, because if he tries, he's aware enough to know that he's not going to easily succeed at first, right? And he just has too much ego to fail. Yeah. But this is what capital P practice. We have to set aside our ego and get familiar with failing, because that's the point of it. Capital P practice is about deliberately doing something you know you're going to fail at. Yeah. Right. Now, of course, the more we do it and the more we get skilled of it, that failure lasts for seconds, sometimes microseconds even. Yeah. It doesn't last very long. It's very quick. Yeah. And you do, and in the application you update in real time by the second. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, that wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. Yeah, it was a bit awkward, but no biggie. And then the next second, you like got it, and oh, all right, there we go. I got it now. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay, I really have it now. Oh, this is actually pretty easy. Yeah, I thought it was going to be hard, but actually pretty easy. And that's usually how it goes. Right? Very, very, very simple, very, very powerful mechanism, capital P practice. Yeah, but it's getting past those few seconds. Those few seconds are critical, because in that first second, the ego says, oh my God, I'm failing. Oh, and then they just stop. No, I can't do it. Nope, I want to do it. And then they just retreat. They don't make that extra effort to go past the ego in that 1 or 2 seconds, or maybe slightly longer sometimes, but generally it's fairly quick, right? That says, keep going, keep going. Yeah, so what? So what? So what? Just keep going. Yes, I know it's awkward, but keep going, keep going. You'll get through it. It's getting through that awkwardness. That's the key to capital P practice. That's the skill. Yeah. The skill in persistence,
Yes,
the skill in getting through it. Yeah. The skill of trust, right? It's trusting
exactly.
that things will change, trusting that even though I don't know, I'm going to learn dynamically. Yeah. This is the thing with learning. The very important point about learning. Most have learning and they want to have the skill ahead of time to avoid this dynamic not knowing, awkwardness, failing, and then learning as you go. They want to avoid that. They want to learn beforehand and be expert right from word go. In reality, that very, very, very seldom happens. Yes, very, very seldom. So it's a futile quest that they persist or pursue. Yeah, very interesting.
It
Very, very
is.
interesting stuff.
Yes.
Anyway, to get back to Ursula, like I said, Ursula is a deep theme for me that I saw this so often in people, this inability to step that extra step that Ursula steps, this ability to give up the self, this incredible ability, incredible ability. Yes. And this is part of the poem, The Me of When and More, that we've been going into on Fridays. And we're still busy with. We're coming to the key point about this giving up the self. And then what to do then as a remedy, as a practical mechanism for this. Very powerful point we're coming to in the poem. We've gone through the poem, obviously read it, but now we're doing the capital R reading. So next Friday, we're going to get into that. Very, very cool. So it's just, I'm just saying there's a big intent behind Ursula. Very, very important intent for me personally. Yeah. Yeah. Beena, make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. It does.
And
It is why I was holding it up before that, because I don't want to even go into this subtle inadvertent ego, which
no.
might be the potentially which might be uh, the the danger there, because when you look at your progress, if I'm going to look at my progress as someone independent, someone individual, when I look at myself as a third person, I personally feel that it's a remarkable progress. It's a
It
remarkable
is.
progress,
It is. It
and
is, Beena. It
it's an
is.
amazing journey. If
Yes.
I
Yes.
started looking at it like, okay, if really, if
No.
one can just write the story, that
No.
whole story would be really amazing. How many
No.
times it was when I was not absolutely not sure that, okay, what it is going to
No.
happen, why I'm even doing this, why I'm
No.
following this.
No.
Uncertainty, not being clear about things, nothing to hold on.
Yeah.
This is a very
Yeah.
big point for
Yeah.
me. And I have seen that people do scared, they get scared when they have nothing to hold on to. We are so used to cling on, to attach ourselves with
Yes.
something, which
Yes.
was for me quite sensible before and very logical. And it was like, what else? Like, duh. But now I realize that that was dependency. It was not my piece of being there. You have to acquire
Mm.
that capital T self-trust, where you don't need to cling on something, where you don't need to hold on
Exactly.
something. You have to acquire the ability that whenever it is appropriate, you can acquire anything.
Exactly.
This is
You.
the ultimate
Yeah. Yeah.
pivotal point for me where I can be, where I become able to be whatever I want to be, and without needing all my happiness, all my awareness. Of course, awareness always comes from other side also, yes. But at least my happiness, my peace of being must not dependent on anything. It needs to be innate. I don't need to cling on something. My self-perceptions
Yeah.
need to be built on, based on my qualities, which I have, my skills, not something that the perception people have about me. And this is the
Yeah.
point where I feel that this is can be one of the ultimate peace of being state.
Yeah. Yeah. Very powerful, Beena. And you have done this very well. You really have. It's a major accomplishment. Profound life change. It's spoken about often. It's sought often. It's desired,
Yes,
wanted, but actual, real, profound life change, profound life change, and the accompanying self change. It's very rare in my experience. Maybe more so than I've common experienced, but I try and pay attention to this. And if you listen to people's stories, it's seldom that they make a complete radical shift of being. Doesn't happen very often. And I will add, from personal experience, such radical, profound self-change requires inordinate effort.
say it again, please.
Such profound, radical life change and self-change requires
Yes,
inordinate effort. Now, let me qualify that. We would assume that the act of change itself is where the effort is required. Yes, that does, but actually that's not a really great effort. The effort required comes in after you make the change, to sustain it, to maintain it. That's where the effort
oh
comes
yeah,
in, because you need to be constantly vigilant, like every second of your awareness, to not fall back into your old patterns. That's the hard part,
oh
to
yes,
maintain the awareness of your new self,
absolutely.
to not fall into the bubble of your old. That happens of its own accord, right? So you have to constantly be deliberately maintaining awareness, and that takes a lot of effort. Yeah, lots.
Yes,
It's a very big deal, and that's the hard part,
yes,
changing habits.
yes, it is. It
And
is.
that's why in Way of Impeccability, habits are so profoundly focused on. It's not just coming from a philosophical perspective, right? As in thinking it through, well, it's also coming from real, actual experience of doing this. I
Yes.
changed, as you know, at age 16, right? I made
Hmm.
that really huge shift after the Therese incident into being a completely different person. But boy, for the next couple of years, I worked on that every second of the day. It's a huge effort.
Hmm.
It was worth it though.
Hmm.
Yeah. To shift that awareness so that you don't default to the old behavior. Still, I have to fight the old self, even after 40 years more. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. The old self is very powerful, because when the old self is established, it's established in pureness. And essentially, it's the first real brain patterns that get locked in. And because it's coming in, there's no competition, they have a deeper imprint than anything else. Yeah. Yeah. It's very, very powerful. You know, it's, you're looking to change your operating system, not software that you acquire later. It's hard to change the operating system. Very powerful. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. What you thinking, Beena? What you thinking? Well, I'm also thinking about Ursula and how Ursula is an intent. Now, not the intent for an Ursula. No. I don't care about people who have success in the real world and that. Yeah, to have somebody like that in my life, totally not an issue. Right. So that part of it is just nice for the story and helpful for the story to make it such an extreme shift. Yeah. I mean, Ursula could just as well, I could have written Ursula as somebody who was just the absolute most average, everyday person you could imagine. Yeah. Right? Just, you know, somebody working at McDonald's, for instance, right? Because, and the reason I use McDonald's is because they are, second to the military, the biggest employer in America. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing, Beena?
Yes.
I mean, that's quite something. Yeah?
Yes.
In other words, when you say somebody working at McDonald's, this isn't a small section of society. No, it's a large section of society. And when you add that entire category, right? You know, Burger King, Subway, whatever, you now have, you know, most people that you meet are likely working in a similar type of a job. Yeah. This is just what life is, right? People working in this kind of a job. And it's a great thing, right? I mean, like I was speaking to the Amazon driver, right? One of them. And you know, they're a writer and they're a musician, they have a band, and he said, look, I do this to put my daughter through college because they're passionate. Who they really are, it doesn't pay. You know, Amazon being an Amber driver, it's a good paying job. Same thing, working at McDonald's, they're good paying jobs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, relatively speaking, even though you when you start off at the bottom of the ladder, but still, you know, if you stay there after a while, it's a good paying job. You know, I have a friend who is, he works at the golf course and he takes care of the golf carts. And when you come back from the around, you know, he cleans your clubs, takes the clubs off, and takes the golf cart in and out. He has a boat and a house and everything. He's got a fantastic job. And he's doing the most, it's the, at least, you know, the most sort of menial job that you could sort of think of there, right? My point is in our world that we live in today, menial jobs can be very well paid. Yes? And many people do them because he said, I have no ambition to go anywhere else because this pays my bills. It gives me everything I want and I can live my life for the rest of it. Right. And without having the stress of responsibility and blah, blah, and all this nonsense. Right. It's just wonderful for him. And he's been at it for, I don't know, 20 years or whatever. No. It's fantastic. Now, I'm just making a point here that I'm not really want to say that to me, you know, the average job that people consider menial jobs, I don't consider them menial necessarily. Yes. But also just because it is maybe menial technically, like my friend's job, right? I mean, there's not much to it. It's a very simple job. But that doesn't mean that this isn't a great job to have and do, like the driver. Yeah. It's great. It pays his bills, it puts his daughter through college, and it gives him time to do what he wants to do. And the other driver said, I never work more than 2 days in a row. He doesn't even work 5 days a week. He works 2 days on and 1 or 2 days off, and so yes, because he can. He's just a single guy. He doesn't need to. Right? This is fantastic. This is really ideal. Pays for everything you do. You put your time in, you get it out, off you go. You have a free life. All right. The point I'm getting at here is that Ursula could be somebody like the driver. Yeah, they could be an Ursula. I only chose Ursula to be because I wanted this extreme contrast, right? To go from the one extreme to the other. And later it proved to be very valuable with Camillus. Yes. Because it made his, because she was successful and something that he values because of his immersion into hierarchy, right? Success is a big deal. It made it more dramatic coming into it, right? So it makes this shift, the value of Nobelia-Living. It highlights it. Yes, it accentuates it. If somebody's busy doing a regular, oh, okay, well, I'm going to give up, being a driver and come to Nobelia. Well, that doesn't seem like much of a sacrifice, right? See what I mean? I wanted to demonstrate that when you think about it, I mean, it's like a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer for Ursula, despite what others would regard as high value. Yeah. So that's why it's not because it's necessarily that I have an intent for an Ursula in my life. So yes, I'm going on a very long, roundabout, complicated point here. It's got many layers to it. I'm saying Ursula is an intent to have an Ursula in my life, but not, or Ursulas plural, but not because of the success part. No, that's not the part that's the intent. The part that's the intent is the choice to be an aspirant and to give up the past self. That's the intent of Ursula. The fact that her backstory is one of having this successful, in the normal world, successful life, that means nothing. To me, the Amazon drivers, they are very, my friend who works at the golf course, very successful in my mind, ridiculously so. They live wonderful lives. They have joy and pleasure and freedom, and they get everything they want, right? It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So that's not the part, but the part is the shift, because for them to give up their successful lives will be just as difficult as it is for Ursula to become an aspirant. It'll be just as difficult. Well, speaking, it's not the fact that there's the success that's the thing that she's giving up. It's the habituation, the pattern, the ease, the familiarity. That's the part to give up. And that's where, like the drivers, for instance, not them individually, and my friends, those instances, it would be difficult for them to give that up because they're comfortable and they're cozy, it's convenient, they have everything they want in a usual sense. And if you don't really see the spiritual benefit, the philosophical benefit, the heart benefit, this becomes like, nah, I'm not interested. People don't want to give up their coziness, their comfort. It's a big hold on people, right? But the key is, now, I'm not saying that they should. Be careful here, right? I'm not implying this at all, because I don't think so at all. This, Nobelia-Living is not for everyone. The same as, being a driver is not for everyone. Yeah, or being a singer is not for everyone, or being a business person is not for everyone. Whatever activity in life you choose, it's not for everyone. Same thing, being an aspirant is just another one of the choices in life. It's not for everyone. You've got to choose where your passion lies. Yeah. So now some people, they don't have a particular passion, or they have a passion and, like, the driver who's a musician, likely he's not the most stellar, wonderful musician, and he's aware of it. He knows he's mediocre, but he doesn't care. It's his passion. It doesn't matter to him. And because he knows that he's not a particularly adept musician, doesn't have wild skills or natural talent and all this stuff, right? And he doesn't have the time and energy to put into it. He just enjoys the fun of it. It's not worth it to him to pursue it to that level. So to make it something that brings him financial benefit, it's not in the cards, right? So he has this to pay his bills and he gets to pursue his passion. Wonderful. Life is easy. Yeah. So for
Yes.
him, this is not necessarily a choice. Yeah, he's following his passion. He does what he wants to. This is not an option, and I wouldn't expect it to be. But for somebody whose passion is learning and growth and self-change and understanding and awareness, it's a passion. It's a passion. Yes, it has the real world benefits. It's a very unique passion, right? Because it translates into applying in all aspects of your life. So it's not a usual passion, or at least more so than other passions tend to do. Anything you pursue to its maximum is going to have translate into benefits elsewhere. As many of the sports people will tell you, right? You learn life skills in the pursuit of excellence in your sport. Yeah.
Mm.
Like in gaming. Gaming is like online gaming, right? Those intense games, the MMOs and that.
Okay,
These are
yes.
right. I'm saying like gaming, for instance, right? And gaming is a
Mhm.
pursuit that's designed purely for entertainment purposes. However, in order to be a good gamer, you have to learn patience and persistence, tolerance. Without those, you're not going very far in your gaming, right? You're going to be frustrated very quickly because gaming is all about challenge and overcoming challenge. This is the fun of it, right? All right, there's other gaming where it's just exploration, and all right, there's nothing really to that. But even there, it requires patience, yeah, if you're exploring.
Mm.
Well, without patience, you're not going to be a very joyful gamer. And there are many of them. They pursue this, and it's just, why do you play? Seriously, dude, you're complaining all the time. You're always frustrated. You're always angry. You're always bothering. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And yet they keep coming back. It's amazing. Oh yeah. So my point is that any activity, if you really pay attention to the abstract, you're going to get more out of it, right? But of course, from an aspirant point of view, you want to take this as far as you can go with it, right? You don't want to just have it happen accidentally and incidentally and by the way. No, you want this to be your focus. It's not a life for everybody, and that doesn't mean that the lives that people choose are wrong or bad, or no, not at all. And that's hierarchy thinking. Yeah. Nonetheless, my intent was, and in writing Ursula, is to intend someone who can see the value and make the shift, yeah, and not be stuck. Because many see the value like chameleons, but can't make the shift, and that's a great tragedy to me. This is a great, great, great tragedy, and I still see it today. Yeah, with people, they come, they touch. They can't make the shift, knowing that they want to make the shift, not knowing they should make the shift. No, that's a different point. Knowing they want to make the shift, they desire it, but are unable to, like chameleons. That's a great tragedy to me. That's a great tragedy. When you cannot get what you want because of artificial internal pressures and values. Yeah, they're artificial.
Yeah.
Like your queen bee value. It at the time it was super valuable, right? Beena was important. People look up to Beena. They sought Beena out for advice and all this stuff, right? It was
Yes.
wonderful at the time. Now it seems kind of childish, yeah.
Yes, because at that time, at that time, my self-conception was
Precisely.
leveraging my self-trust,
Should.
and my self-trust was almost completely dependent on that self-conception I was
Exactly.
acquiring from the perception from
Exactly.
those people.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it was all good on surface, but when I realized that it is actually not.
Yeah.
When your self-conception, when your self-trust is dependent on the self-conception, and your self-conception is coming from external stimulation from other people, like they are giving you something.
Yeah.
It's a false thing. It is going to, of course, it's
Yeah.
false. It's not
Yeah.
true. It's not real.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
it was very uh, uncomfortable at the time because it was shattering my
Yeah.
self-conception.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Coming, Norma.
now it seems very foolish to even think of it
Exactly.
as something
Exactly.
which I was basing on.
Yeah. 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 Please read, Norma. No, don't go, Norma. I hope you're still here. No, we just was deep in the conversation. I do want to get to your comments. They're very important, Norma. And will you read them there, please? From where Norma says, "But how do you?" Right? Read from there, please, and respond to
I
them.
cannot read, sir. I cannot
Oh,
read because
oh,
I'm
oh,
there. Yes,
oh,
yes.
oh. Norma says, "But how do you just be yourself when we are part of all?" It's not a separation. To be yourself is to be all. That's the point. Be all and be yourself. It's not a contradiction. It's one and the same.
The problem is not in being or be. The
Yeah,
problem in just. This word just creates a confusion. And of course,
exactly.
a lot of problem in our
Exactly.
mind. It is
Exactly.
just. It's nothing to be just about it. We can be ourselves and still we can connect with others. It's not the problem for me in this whole idea of
Exactly.
just being is
Exactly.
just
Exactly.
AUSP. It's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Very, very nuanced, very sophisticated point by Beena. It's not just you, because just implies you are less than all. You're not. You
Exactly.
is a massive, monumental, huge, wonderful, brilliant thing. To think of just you is to minimize you, is to reduce you. And this is inappropriate. Yeah. This is inappropriate. You are a Moreness. And as you are is enough. Right? So we are enough. And from a new nobility point of view and aspirant point of view, right? And as part of the credo of the aspirant, I am enough and I am also more, capital M more.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
and the also are all caps. Yeah, they are. It's the both
The
existing at the same time. Yeah, not a
yes,
contradiction.
yes. No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
The moment of the self-acknowledgement and self-appreciation for me.
yes,
Just few weeks ago, till few weeks ago, I
yeah,
was super reluctant to say something which is going against all the good famous quotes said by big names or big ideas, like
mm,
Zen things, like Buddha's thing, like anyone
yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah,
So reluctant to say that, and I try to make my things a bit lesser, a bit convoluted, a bit sugar coated, that I'm not challenging them, I'm not saying anything against them, I'm not
yeah,
denying this. And then that was my idea, because I was, of course, I do respect a lot, but also not only it was respect, but it was also that who am I to say something like this? But
yes,
today,
yeah,
when you said, Norma, and when you shared that, okay, this just being, it's a very popular, it's the most popular idea, I guess, in
mm,
spirituality. Everybody said, oh, just be.
yeah,
The problem is not being, the problem in just. Why to
yes,
stay and keep yourself in just? Why we say
exactly,
that? And this is
exactly,
the confusion, this is the wrong
exactly,
perception. But
exactly.
today, I'm
Yeah,
super comfortable in saying
yeah,
this, that no, this is not.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah,
again another big huge transformation, another
yeah,
big huge improvement, another big huge achievement for me, that I can
yeah.
say things without creating any excuse for others to make it digestible for themselves.
Yes,
I was trying to
exactly.
always try to make digestible for others, that okay, yes, they will say, okay, who are you, Beena? Like, okay, yes, you are not even that old enough to challenge these things.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
you don't have experience of these things. But for me, it is not about me. If something is making sense, it's an
exactly,
independent idea. It is
exactly.
not
It's
dependent on Beena.
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
Beena
It's
is just
inherent.
sharing right now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a big point. It's
Good.
a big point. It's a huge, huge point. It's a massive point. You know, to acknowledge we are more and we are little at the same time. It's a big deal. It's
Yes.
a big deal. And to have trust in self-evident sensibilities. This is very important. It's the
Yeah.
heart of way of impeccability. It's not about arrogance or self-importance. Something is
No, no.
sometimes inherently, it's self-evidently sensible. Well, how can I
Exactly.
say it's not? It's like, well, duh, sorry,
And
it's not.
and when and this is also, it's a lie when if I will say
Yeah,
that, okay, no, this is not me, because when I am acknowledging what other people are saying, when I am
yes,
accepting, and when I'm practicing these ideas,
yes,
who am I if I will not give due respect to me?
yes,
I cannot
yes,
do this. It is completely
yes,
against my impeccability. At
exactly,
least I want to be impeccable. How can I
exactly,
do this with myself?
exactly, exactly. And Norma makes another comment here. Now, Norma, I don't
Mhm.
mean to be kind of giving you a hard time here, right? But your comment is wonderful because it's illustrating a very, very important point. It's not what we say or the questions that we ask. It's not looking for the answer that's the issue. Sometimes we have to question the question or the expression itself, like your comment would just be. See, Beena didn't look to give you an answer to that. She said, let's think about how you said this. And therein lies the learning. Therein lies the awareness, as the same is in your next comment, where Norma says, we have to hold and take others with us. Now, in the usual conventionality, we'll say, is this so? Yes, true or not? Yeah. But when we look at it in this
Mm.
bigger picture understanding, the problem with that is the assumption of us and others as separate. Once we realize others are us,
Mm.
then taking them with us is a non-issue. It's well, of course, when I realize others are me, of course I'm taking them with me. How can I not? It's like saying I'm not going to take my arm with me. Yeah,
Yes.
others are us. Simple as that.
Yes.
Changes. You see what I
Mm.
mean? It changes the dynamic now. Now it's not to agree or disagree with Norma. Is this true or not true? Right? Not to evaluate. Oh, we have to hold and take others with us. Well, others are us. Well, then holding and taking them with is just, well, duh, right? It just happens automatically. When we shift this
Yes.
understanding to be aware that others are us, same with just being me. I'm the universe, for heaven's sake. Yeah. I'm not aware enough. I don't have the same awareness that I'm the universe. I'm working on that, right, to feel it. But I know conceptually that I'm that, and I'm working towards being fully aware of it and knowing it and feeling it fully. Yeah. So it's a process. I'm part of a process. I'm in progress. Right. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Janet says, thank you for this morning. Although I overslept, I've been here. Oh, wonderful, Janet. Wonderful. Oh, I'm very pleased you're here. And thank you, Norma. Norma says, thank you, Beena. Yeah, yeah. And Norma
All
says,
right.
I agree. Right, right, right. Yeah. I knew for me, but not sure with the me as linked with you. Yes, we are an us, Norma. We are an us. To understand that where others are is merely they are there because that's the path that life took them on. That could easily be me. And to understand why they are them is very profound when you really look into how we responded, what choices we made, how did they come to be them, why they made choices, why? Because they had certain values, they had certain understandings. And I could easily have gone that path. Any one of us can easily go the path of the other, right? And when we start to see others as us going those paths, it makes me aware to say, oh, if I want to not go into those paths, I have to be
Mm.
acutely aware of what makes it happen to take those paths, right? So that I can
Mm.
say, no, I prefer to take this path, that path, so that I don't have those values. And these are deep core values that make those happen, right? So that I can say, should I be in a situation where I'm starting again, my core values are such that they put me on a different path. And they not put me on a
Mm.
specific path, but they put me on the path of choice. That's the path I want
Mm.
to be on. Most of our paths come because we had values that determined the path and sort of removed choice as part of the path, and we ended up in a specific path, like, being a housewife, being a mother, being a businessman, whatever the path is. But when we're on a path of choice, and our core values put you on this path where choice is the issue, now you come to awareness first, choice second, not the other way around. Yeah, mostly we end up with having the choices made for us. We think we're making a choice, but not really. It's not a free, pure choice in awareness, because the choice is determined by our values. Yeah. And you kind of
Yes.
get locked into a particular way of being, a particular life path. Very big point. Very, very big point. I'm thrilled that you're here, Janet. Oh, this is very cool. This is very cool. Any comments, Janet? I know you like to absorb and take in, but anything that jumps out at you, anything that sits with you, anything that struck you as different, unusual, queried, maybe, whatever, I don't know, anything. Just always keen to hear, always keen to hear. But this point of this deep choice, I feel, and setting ourselves in such a way that we have maximum freedom is huge. And this is where appropriateness comes into it. Appropriateness as a dominant life philosophy, right? So if not so, for instance, yes, if we look at the basic core of life and around us, a core value of most people, that core value is things like success, status, security. Yeah. Right, a security from a point of both financially, health, physically, in terms of actual, like, physical safety. Yeah, and those are very, very deep important values to people. Yes.
Yes.
Right, and that determines their life path. Yeah. See,
Yes.
now, how much you value those things. But if your prime, or even your one and only core prime value, is appropriateness, what life path is the universe going to put you on? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, see how this is interesting, right? When you consider this, think of the universe like a computer, like a supercomputer. And I often use this analogy. When you have a supercomputer and it's blank, and you give it an instruction, right? Like a computer that can create, like, those worlds, like the gaming worlds, right? It has the ability to create this world, and it's just waiting for the parameters from you. Yeah. And you say, well, okay, create a world like we do to ChatGPT when you prompt ChatGPT, but take ChatGPT now to an ultimate. Yeah. And you say,
Yes.
okay, ChatGPT, create a world that and a life path and a circumstances for a character that wants security as their first and foremost. Yeah. But within the
Yes.
context of the usual world as we know it. Yeah. But you want it where their need for security is satisfied. Yeah. Well, now the computer thinks it all through, say, well, okay, we're going to put them in a situation where they'll do mundane jobs all their lives.
Yes.
Isn't that a very secure way of being? Because there's always a need for mundane jobs. Yes, you can get fired and all this, and they come and go, but you just go and get another job. It's usually not that much of an issue, right? And beside
Yes.
which, when you in a situation like that, there's workers' compensation, charities will help you out, right? When you so there's always a lot of safety involved, right? And the very fact that they are the
Yes.
world, when you look at it, the supercomputer ChatGPT is saying to you, well, you're asking a different question, because there's no situation where you can have this absolutely within the context of the world that you've asked me to put them into. Yeah, it doesn't actually exist. So it's as best we can situation. Because now I say, well, but why don't you make them very wealthy? And ChatGPT says, well, look at the reality of this. When you're very wealthy, everybody's trying to steal your wealth from you. How secure is that? If you're not particularly, smart, or if you don't believe yourself to be smart, well, now you've got to deal with all these people trying to scam you, take your money, false friendships. Do you want false friendships? No. I don't want to be in that situation. I want to have security and know that I can trust my friends. Well, okay, there goes wealth. Yeah. Part of being very wealthy is that you can't
Yes.
know for sure on trusting your friends. It's a very sad situation.
Yes.
My point is, those core values, they determine our reality in a very profound way. Yeah. Now, I just took one, but when you have multiple ones, like now I started to introduce this, I want to have real friends also. It's a core value. I want security and real friends. Okay, there goes wealth. See? just from the computer's point of view, say, well, you're not going to be you're not being able to satisfy those two. Yeah, one cancels out the other. Okay, we have to find you some other path. I don't want responsibility either. All right, well, definitely you're not going to then be in a situation where you're going to have security from, being in like, a top government position or whatever. But even those, look how any position of power, show me any position of power other than long-standing dictators. And even then, how secure is like Kim Il-jung, the Korean dictator, and his father and his grandfather, right? How secure were they?
Yes.
They constantly under the threat of being, deposed, killed, thrown out. Yeah?
Yes.
It's rare for dictators to survive a lifetime. Because even when it's a dynasty, right? Like in this, usually the children are the ones that you want to succeed you are usually the ones that end up killing you and taking you out of office. You're training them to be the very thing that you don't want them to be, in a sense, right? To be the dictator means that they have the willingness and the desire and the means and the ability and the psychology to get rid of you. It's a wonderful conundrum.
Yes.
So where's the security in being a dictator? It's one of the least secure things, but yet people think it's secure, right? So the universe says to you, yeah, no, this is what you want. Now, if somebody says, I don't care, I just want to be, because they're not there for security. They're there because of status and ego and dominance and power. And this is way more important than security. If security was their first and primemost consideration, they'd never be a dictator. Yeah.
Yes.
A horribly insecure life situation. It's just too fascinating to me, this. And I feel this is super important because, well, now we're going to get into a very deep philosophical point of view in terms of how we see the world and how it works in this. Now, whether or not you believe in reincarnation is irrelevant. I just simply think that we live in a reality where energy is everything. Yeah, we know from science. And whether you know it from science or not, it's an idea that's been around for a long, long time. And our consciousness, our awareness is what transforms the energy into the reality that we see. Therefore, we are the creators of our own reality. Now, before you get all excited and say, oh, that means I can just materialize and manifest everything. Well, technically, yes. But in order to do so, you're forgetting one thing. We are in a collaborative reality. So we as a collective are materializing this reality, right? So it's the collectiveness of it. So it's the amalgamation of all of these consciousnesses, awareness, intents, desires being expressed, right? And the beliefs of how the world should be, supposed to be, and this materializes the world. Yeah. Now, of course, you can change it completely to the way you want it, but in order to override that input, you have to have inordinate energy. Yes. Because think of it this way: it's like if we were all connected with strings to everything else around us. Yeah. So if I have a lot of energy, I can move the things around me with my energy, right? I can change my world, which we know we can do. But to change the whole world, I'm going to have inordinate energy and power in order to have my effects last beyond the immediate effect of my strings, right? In other words, if I'm pulling on you and then your string pulls on others and that string pulls on them, if I have to pull the whole world along with me to change, this requires inordinate energy. So it's theoretically possible, but practically not. Yeah, and this is why people struggle with materialization or manifesting. Yeah. Because they don't understand it's all energy dependent. Now, when for instance, if I want to pull on the string that is 4 strings removed, right? My strings connected to Norma or Beena, and then from them, Jan, whoever, and it's 3, 4, 5, 6 down the line, right? If it so happens through life circumstance that all of you are moving in the same direction as I am, and a little bit of an extra tug on this already movement makes, the thing that's 10, 12 down the line also now suddenly move and fall into place, right? That thing may have been slightly off to the side, not moving. And now I give it a little extra tug and suddenly it falls into place. Oh, now it comes into reality. I've spent very little energy to make it happen. And I say, oh, look, I can make this happen. I can materialize things. Yes, I did, but I was leveraging what was already in motion, and I only took a little bit of energy to make that happen. Yeah. However, if the things aren't favoring that, in other words, if I'm out of attunement, now I'm going to have to use inordinate energy to pull you all back against your way. The analogy is with trains. Yeah. For me to stop, me personally, to stop an actual train, it's not possible. I mean, this train has got mass and momentum. Even if I'm standing on the track and the train is moving at 0.0001 mile per hour, right? The minimum movement of that train moving, I'm not going to stop it. The momentum is too large. Correct, Beena?
Yes.
However, if that train is moving at full speed, that makes it even more impossible. But can I change the direction of that train with the energy that's available to me? Yes, I can.
Yes.
Through leverage, right? Through shunting. Yes, you go to the side of the road, you change the lever, it shifts it from one track. It's just a little physical thing that's there on the side of the track like this. It's like a little wedge, and it goes from where the train runs past it to the, and suddenly, boom, there we go. Okay. So to change the path of a train is possible with the energy we have, but it requires an understanding of leverage and of where the shunt is, where there's another rail that's joined, right? So you have to be in the right time and space and location in order to know where that lever is to move it, right? Or to put that lever into place, yeah, which also maybe requires more energy. These are essential understandings, in other words. And this is where attunement comes into it. Attunement is all about right place, right time. Yeah, so we're following along and the universe says, here we go. And when the more in tune you are with the universe, the more you are automatically in the appropriate time and place where you can do that shunting when required. Yeah. So this is the attunement, is being aware of the shunting levers, correct? And being saying, wow, look, all right, attunement is, I don't know where the shunting lever is, but if I just, let's say I'm in the middle of nowhere and I'm following along the track, I can't see shunting levers on either end of me, but I do know if I follow this track long enough, sooner or later, I'm going to come up to a lever and a shunting lever, yes, to change the train. Yeah. See what I mean? Very cool, very cool, very cool.
Yes.
Thank you, Amazon. I don't think they can hear me. They do. Thank you. I just love them. They're just so wonderful, the drivers, and just joyful. Anyway, this is a powerful point to understand. Now, of course, it's a very, very simple analogy of the train track, right? In reality, it's much more complicated like that. It's more like the streets that we're going on, and we're looking for shunting levers in the streets, and it's all over the show. And there's a 3-dimensional, it's very complex, right? But nonetheless, the more in attunement we are, the more we see opportunities where we can use such leverage, right? And it's to be aware of the flow of things so that you're going with the flow, not against it. Like I said, in that connection where we are all tied together, if we were literally like standing on a big field tied together, and you say, okay, everybody just kind of go about whatever you're doing, right? And you give them little tasks, and they're moving, right? Every now and then you feel a little tug, and the things move you out of the way, and you say, hey, whoa, and you tug of it back, right? And eventually there's sort of an equilibrium that's established. Now, somebody may, or let's say you give one person in there, you say, look, nobody else knows it, but you're in a sort of more or less on the left middle side of the field. But there on the very end of the field, there is this great big pot of, I don't know, something that they value, right? And they know it's there, but you don't. Now, of course, they're very motivated to get there, so they keep straining and making effort. After a while, right, that whole field, because they might not be able to move everybody immediately, but after a while of sustained, persistent effort, they will, yeah, because you have those little tuds and you make an adjustment, and okay, you can take your situation with you, like, your little workstation or whatever, and your seat, it's on wheels, let's say, for instance, it's fairly movable and shiftable, and you adjust, and it's like you might even stay in relatively the same place, but them relative to you changes, yeah, you see what I mean? And they'll get to this point.
Yes.
So when we have sustained, persistent, extra effort, we can change things, but it takes time, right? So we have to understand both attunement, working with the flow of things, but sometimes you can rearrange life, but it takes patience, determination, persistence, and unbending intent. You have to keep at it. You have to keep at it. You have to keep at it. Yeah. It's very, very powerful understanding. These analogies, because they are so simple, are incomplete. The reality is more complicated, right? But nonetheless, it's the same principle, that if we wish to change the world, we need to have, first of all, energy, and second of all, we have to have that. We might not have enough energy to do it immediately, but sustained small amounts of effort over time can result in monumental changes. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. It's very powerful. It's very powerful. It's very, very powerful. And this is, Norma always says, yeah, but it's only you there or only me there. Like, why bother? Because Norma, this is me bothering and Beena bothering, because we are changing our personal worlds in the same way, right? This is a sustained effort over time that will result in a bigger change. Whether it changes the world itself or not, that's not necessarily a goal and agenda, because I don't feel that I have enough in me to say, oh, this is a change for the world. No, that's just arrogance. And I absolutely refuse to consider that. I can only say for me personally. So I'm making an effort to change what I want in my life. Yes, to change my world, to change my relative position, like on that field that we're all in, right? And I want to get to the edge of the field where I see there's something of great value for me, and I have to rearrange the thing. I'm not going to do it immediately, but over time, everybody else may more or less stay the same, but I've changed my position relative to them. It just requires sustained effort, and I'm in a totally different position, totally different place. My world has changed, yeah? And this is what's happening in my world. It's sustained, unbending intent coupled with patience and persistence. Incredible skills, incredible skills, incredible skills. We can do a lot with little when we have patience and persistence, perseverance, peace, all the P's. Yeah, pause, pacing, all of it. Yeah.
Yes.
You need them all. You need them all. You need them all. Yeah. Very, very important. Yeah. Capital P pacing. Yeah. And sometimes you need that power pause. Just step back. Okay, let the rush come past me. Okay, here's my gap. I keep going. It doesn't mean that I give up on my intent. My intent is still there. It's still unbending. Yeah. I maintain it. Very, very powerful. Very, 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 very powerful points. Yeah. Very big deal. Yeah. Keen to hear more, Janet. Keen to hear more. Keen to hear more. All right, Beena, any closing comments?
This today's reading again. I came with the intent that I'm just going to listen to the story and not going to add much. But of course, sometimes even when you set your intent, it doesn't work. It's all appropriate, and I shared a lot, as at least as per my understanding. This whole process of doing these stories, we are practicing sharing with the universe practically. We are doing this. We are practicing our completely free sharing without having any agenda, without having any expectation to have any particular results or anything. There is nothing involved here. And surprisingly, the awareness coming in that it is mostly it is beyond the understanding or imagination for many of us to expect something like this. Maybe they might be seeing that, okay, why they're just wasting their time? Oh, they are they're just fooling around, they're just jabbering and all these things. Could be this and could be, yes, okay, some of course, we know some of our friends, they know that, okay, it sets up a mindless value and they do appreciate that. But nothing actually make any difference to this. Still, when he actually started and so live sessions, and he says that this is the place I'm going to create for myself, where I'm going to practice and exercise complete moreness.
Yes.
I came here just
My moreness, not
exactly. Yes, exactly. And my intent and my willingness to come to these live is just to experience that. It's a rare opportunity when you see when someone is saying that, okay, I'm not going to filter anything, I'm not going to do anything
Actually not
because
going
of
to hold back.
any should, any I'm just going to just practice, just be more, and I'm going to exude, or of course practice, exercise, show, share my moreness. I am coming here just to experience this. I know that Syl has so many things. I think that, okay, he's at least in my understanding, where as long as I know him, he was never been so busy as he is right now.
Yeah, quite right, yeah.
But he is still, and I'm always coming happily. Though my mind continuously say that, okay, oh, we have a lot of things to do. Come on, like, okay, yes, but when I come here, everything just go on the back burner, and our mind like, yes,
Exactly.
it's important, it's
Exactly.
valuable. This is
Exactly.
how we are. This is why we are doing this. I'm just coming to experience this thing. I never experience something like this when someone says that deliberately, I'm going to do this. To just observing someone who is enjoying their moreness, practicing, exercising their moreness, and with the deliberate intent. We all do here and there, we all do, but deliberately doing that and keep persisting on that. It's a big, huge deal for me. I want to observe this. I want to experience this. And this is what I'm doing. And that is the only reason why I just said, okay, yes, okay, we are going to continue as much, of course, as we can. There is no shirts here. Whenever
Exactly.
still don't want to, okay, we will skip, and this is what he is doing.
Yeah,
And
it's
and
not
this is
want,
also a
it's
part of,
just as appropriate, right? Attunement, in other words. Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
is also a part of practicing, exercising the complete free sharing. This is what he's doing.
Exactly. Exactly. No, exactly, Beena.
So, thank you, Syl. Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Janet, and thank you whoever is going to be with us. Just it is not thank you for being here for us, even if when we don't know whoever you
Yeah.
are. I'm just saying that, okay, it is you just come here with your energy. That is valuable, and
Yeah.
and this is the crux of whole this procedure for me. I'm
Yeah.
going to discuss, of course, more about this manifestation, mm, intent,
Materialization. Yeah.
realization, both, because you mentioned
Yeah.
both today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are going to, we will discuss more into
Oh
this.
yeah.
This is my
Oh yeah.
favorite topic, and I really love
Oh
that,
yeah.
and I
Oh
enjoy
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
We
Oh
will
yeah.
discuss throughout the week.
It's so intimately connected to impeccability. It's
Yes.
about best use of energy. So we have to be careful of saying, I want this. I can get what I want, but how much energy does it take to get what I want?
Hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. and how appropriate is it? I might say, okay, I can get what I want, but how strategic am I using my energy to get what I want? See, so therefore we have to pay attention to attunement and see where it falls in. I may say, well, if I try and get what I want right now, well, no, timing's not right. All right, let me wait a little bit. When the timing is right, then I make the effort instead of making my effort and kind of, struggling and going nowhere. But the persistence, eventually I'll get somewhere. Yeah, but why? I can just wait and use that energy elsewhere, right? And to wait requires energy also, but much less when you are able to wait. Yes, and waiting without stress. This is patience. The ability to wait without stress.
Yes.
I mean, you could say, yeah, I can't wait for things. Well, that's not true. Waiting is not an optional choice. Yeah.
Yes.
You wait whether you want to or not, you wait. You don't have a choice. Yeah. That's it.
Yes.
I mean, like I'm waiting for the sun to rise. Whether I can wait or not wait, the sun's going to rise either way, correct? But to wait without stress, now we got patience. Yes, because everybody's forced to wait, but they can't do so without stress generally. Yeah? When they're aware that they wait and there's a want involved, yeah, it changes the dynamic, is what my point is. So this is why patience is such a power, because it saves you energy. Yes, because when you are stressful, yeah, then you got all this stress coming into it. Yeah. Yeah. Very powerful stuff. Very powerful stuff. Wonderful. Wonderful. I want to just keep going. I just want to keep going. But man, all right. Yeah, appropriateness once more. Not that we have a time limit. Is we don't respect that generally, but I do feel pressure coming. It's very interesting. Dave was asking about a pressure washer. Yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting, very powerful.
Okay, everyone. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Syl, for sharing.
Yes.
And
What a
thank you,
joy. What a
Beena, for
joy. What
being
a
here.
joy.
Yes, and thank
Yeah.
you, Grain, and thank you, Internet,
Yeah.
for being very efficient today. This was very interesting, and thank you, Universe, for giving us this opportunity to be here, and not just be here, to be here also. And we will discuss things tomorrow, hopefully. So for that, till then, bye for now. See you guys tomorrow.
Too brilliant. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody. End meeting.